Hi guys, this is Max here, back again with hopefully another great political video. And today we're going to take a look at perhaps the two biggest clowns in the American presidential and other election prediction YouTube world or something. Anyway, out of all the election YouTubers, Red Eagle Politics and Let's Talk Elections are the biggest morons, I can tell you that. Red Eagle Politics is a completely crazy, insane right-wing lunatic who will read every single word that comes off of God Emperor Trump's perfectly shaped lips. I'm very sorry to all the Trump supporters out there if I offended Donald Trump, but I'm just saying Red Eagle Politics has a almost childlike nativity of believing everything that Donald Trump says and of standing more behind Donald Trump than probably even Donald Trump himself. And Let's Talk Elections, on the other hand, is a total, complete brainwashed puppet of the Democrat Party DC establishment. He doesn't believe in any progressive policies. Maybe he's liberal on some social issues, but on economics, he's basically a neoliberal. He doesn't care about anything. He just cares about the most establishment Democrat. Please be in office and please be a black woman of color or something. Yeah, that's basically LTE. He's the most woke, moderate liberal you could think of. He's basically a Nancy Pelosi fanboy. However, both of these buffoons have very well performing channels, and today I'm going to make an election prediction if both of them ran against each other. Now, Red Eagle Politics recently moved to Texas, but I'm going to talk about Texas in a moment. I think Red Eagle Politics will win the usual. Red Eagle Politics will win the usual safe Republican states. I think there's not really a very big debate about that. I think he'd win Mississippi safe, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, Missouri. Iowa, he'd probably win by a safe margin. And I also think he'd win Maine second relatively safe. Alaska, I'm going to give him that by a safe margin because I don't think LT is going to win. Even though he has like a love relationship with Lisa Murkowski, he really wants her to flip to the Democrats, but I don't think that's going to happen. Now, other than that, which states are going to be safe for LTE? New York, Maryland, Delaware. Even though Red Eagle likes to talk a big deal about Delaware flipping, it'll still take a while, like one or two election cycles for that to happen. And also Red Eagle is he'll be more easily be depicted as a radical than LTE, especially since Red Eagle didn't even go out and openly denounce the January 6th riot. I say I absolutely don't like LTE. I think he's a scumbag, and even though he claims to be unbiased, he's definitely a establishmentarian Democrat. But Red Eagle Politics is just a bridge more radical than LTE. And LTE would also win Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, DC, Maine's first district, not Illinois safe, but he'd win California safe and Washington safe. And of course, Hawaii. Now, these are all the safe states for both candidates. As you see, there's a pretty big battleground map here. And this prediction video will also not solely be based on the two candidates if they actually ran against each other. It'll also be based on their channels, how they talk about each state, and how the residents of each state might react to the rhetoric they use. And first of all, we're going to go to the state of Wisconsin. Red Eagle talks a lot about the Rust Belt becoming more Republican. He talks a lot about Rust Belt issues. Therefore, I think he'll win Ohio by a likely margin, Wisconsin by a lean margin, and Michigan, because it's his home state, he'll win by a tilt margin. I think Oregon will be likely because Red Eagle talks a whole lot about how Oregon could become more Republican. And he also talks a lot about Nevada and how that is going to be more red in the future. However, in the state of Arizona, it's very suburban. Red Eagle Politics really beat the shit out of John McCain in every single one of his earlier videos where he denounced McCain and his entire family and stuff. So Arizona would definitely go for LTE. They're more of an establishment Republican state. They wouldn't like Red Eagle Politics. Same thing with Colorado. That would probably like LTE simply because he's more of a moderate, and because Red Eagle Politics sometimes even trash talks the U.S. Army, says they're too woke and stuff like that, and there's a large army population in Colorado. Now, LTE, he'd win New Mexico by a lean margin. Red Eagle Politics talks a lot about how New Mexico will trend more Republican, However, Georgia would go to LTE by either a tilt or by a lean margin, simply because Red Eagle talked so much about the election being stolen in Georgia. He never talked about the runoffs. LTE constantly covered the Georgia Senate elections while they were going on. So, yeah, he's obviously going to win Georgia. Texas, because Red Eagle Politics recently moved to Texas, I'm going to give him that state. However, you should always keep in mind that it is a very suburban state, and suburbs really wouldn't like Red Eagle Politics. And yeah, Kansas would also be a bit closer simply because Kansas City has a big suburban area and they would not come out vote for Red Eagle Politics, as I already stated. Now, Virginia, well, first of all, let's go to the state of Florida. I believe that actually Florida would go to Red Eagle Politics by either a lean or a likely margin. Yeah, I said goes them by a likely margin. Red Eagle Politics is a big fan of Ron DeSantis. He's a big fan of the Florida man. He'd go down there and campaign, and the Florida men would campaign for him. South Carolina would be likely, or no, actually it'd be lean, because Let's Talk elections really heavily covered Joe Collins' gubernatorial run in that state, the former congressional representative that has been unseated by Nancy Mace. He's running for governor now, and LTE talked a lot about that on his channel. LTE would probably also win North Carolina. North Carolina has a big military veterans population as well, and they would absolutely not like to see the way how Red Eagle Politics went out and denounced the U.S. Army every now and then. But I believe that Red Eagle Politics, because he's a good conservative, he would win Montana. And in the Virginia gubernatorial election prediction, Red Eagle Politics was always with Glenn Youngkin. He always knew a Youngkin victory might come, while Let's Talk Election supported the losing candidate, Terry McAuliffe, and therefore Virginia, it'll obviously go to Red Eagle Politics in this completely hypothetical world. And now the state of Illinois will go to LTE by a likely margin. No, it'll go to him by a lean margin, because Red Eagle Politics will do very well in the Rust Belt. By the way, the popular vote will be an exact tie. It would not be if I went to the polls and voted for one of those two candidates, but I won't. So therefore, the popular vote will be exactly like 120 million votes each. And then we have 3 more states and 1 more district left to call. Red Eagle Politics needs 7 more votes to be elected president, and Let's Talk Elections needs 31 more votes. And we'll start off with the state of New Hampshire. That one will go to LTE, simply because he's from the northeastern region. And New Hampshire is more of a libertarian state, while Red Eagle Politics is more of a populist Republican. Then next we have the state of Pennsylvania. This one will go to LTE because Philadelphia is a pretty big city, and LTE is from Maryland, which is kind of his region. So LTE would run up the margins in the Philadelphia suburbs. Red Eagle Politics would run up the margins in western Pennsylvania and the rural parts of the state. It'll be a head-to-head race. And then, of course, there's the district Maryland second. There's Nebraska. Oh, there's Maine. No. There's Nebraska second, and there is Maine at large. Now, because Let's Talk Elections is so crazy popular in Nebraska's second district. No. Because he's so crazily because Let's Talk Elections does better than Red Eagle Politics in the Northeast, even though both win the second and the first district by a safe margin. Let's Talk Elections narrowly pulls off Maine at large. However, Red Eagle Politics wins Nebraska's second district. It has been made more Republican during the census of last year. And yeah, so anyway, what I'm off to is right now both candidates are at 264 electoral votes. So the state of Minnesota will decide. Now, will Red Eagle Politics or Let's Talk Elections win this race? Well, no one will. Because Al Franken is going to come back from beyond the grave, his political grave, that is, and he will win Minnesota thereby deadlocking the Electoral College and throwing the election into the House of Representatives, where the probably mostly Republican House of Representatives would then elect Red Eagle politics. Yeah, that's basically the way it is. Okay, guys, this was more of a funny video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you don't, please feel very free to dislike and write a very mean comment to me. I appreciate all interactions, and thank you so much for sticking through my awful content. Have a good day. See you next time, and Max out. Goodbye.